what's right, and we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown, 'cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground, and no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear that these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense. And if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground, so we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
Hello, everybody. We've got Philip Van Cleve, Bruce Jackson, and Christy Horton with us here tonight, and we're here to talk to you about Lobby Day.
Yes, this is our big our part of the year, whatever you want to call it. Our major event is Lobby Day, when we have our best chance to influence legislators with our sheer numbers of people supporting the gun rights agenda. And it's changed a few times during the years because certain people in the General Assembly don't want us to have big rallies. And we've persevered and will continue to persevere nonetheless.
So last year, Christy was the coordinator for the team leaders, and she wants to talk to us a little bit about becoming a team lead and what's involved. Unmute, Christy.
You're muted. I was going to say, Christy, if there's nothing further.
we said it. We're still muted. It looks like it's on your computer end.
Down at the bottom, take a look at the bottom of the screen. There's one where you can mute and unmute.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Sorry, folks. Good evening. I am going to share. I put a PowerPoint together, but it doesn't have to be a PowerPoint, and it will be shared out to each of you if you would like it after the meeting. It's more to keep me focused and on point with things I wanted to remember to tell you. And hopefully it will show you this view. Hopefully you're seeing the slideshow view. Here's some contact information for you. I will come back to this. Just a little bit of logistical information, just to make sure everybody's aware. We're talking about Monday, January 16th, 2023 at the Capitol in Richmond, Virginia. There are some important places to know about where you're going to go to get there. I thought some of this would be a little bit helpful for team leads. It's helpful for everybody, but team leaders will have to be there a little bit early, and you might want to come the day before if you're like me and you live a couple hours away. So I will point out a few places. This is a map. This is the satellite view map from Google Maps. So we've got the state capitol over here. We have the Pocahontas building is here. This arrow is pointing to the main entrance on Main Street. If you go just around the corner from the Pocahontas building, this is where we had a conference room set up last year. Now this is something new, and we thought it worked really well. So as long as we can get the same conference room at the Commonwealth Hotel, there will be a door right over here on the side, coming in right off of 9th Street. You'll go down some stairs, and directly the conference room door will be right in front of you. That is where you will pick up the materials for your team, and I'll talk about what I mean by materials and equipment. And just to give you a little bit more orientation, up here, right here in these trees, that is where the bell tower is. We are having a rally at the bell tower again this year. So exciting.
Yes, we do have the conference room this year.
Excellent. That's a great place. That might be a place to have your team meet you. If you don't want to have them go ahead and meet you inside the Pocahontas building. And this orange square is where the Pocahontas building is on this map. Now, this map you can download from the virginiageneralassembly.gov website. And the green spots are all of the parking lots around the area, though they do note that due to construction, some of them may not be available. It might be good to check those out in advance. And I think this one right here is what was called the SunTrust building. It's now the Truist building. One of these is that one, just almost across the street when you come up out of the parking garage from the Pocahontas building. There's a few hotels within a couple of blocks. There's obviously the Commonwealth Hotel, but in case those fill up, keep in mind that VCDL is not the only organization that goes to speak with our legislators on Lobby Day. So there might be more people than usual at the Capitol that day. And like I said, people like me who have a couple hours to drive, I'm not really a morning person. So I drive down the day before and I stay overnight so I can reduce the drag on the non-morning person. I put in orange. This is the Commonwealth Hotel. There's an Omni over here. This is one called the Berkeley. It's an older place. I've stayed there for several years. It's been a pretty good place. They almost always have rooms available. But you can see there's some little red beds, symbols on this particular map. I had Google show me all the lodging around the Capitol. So there's quite a few places within a few blocks of the Capitol where you could stay if you want to come down ahead of time. And if you do, we usually have dinner together the night before Lobby Day. So if you are coming down the day before and you'd like to meet up with some folks ahead of time, you can do that as well. Now, again, this schedule is helpful for everyone, but for those of you who are team leaders, you might want to take note of some things. So notice that during the session, the Pocahontas building doors are supposed to open for visitors at 7 a.m. And you'll want to think about that, about what time you'll want to meet your team and head up there, because you'll need to get through the security line. You'll probably need to wait in line for the elevators, and you may be able to use the stairs, but be careful because not all stairwells go up to all floors, and same with the elevators on the east and west sides of the building. So you'll want to take some time, make sure you have some time to get where you're going, to make your first appointment time. Also between 7 and 9 a.m., and I would say you don't want to start any later than 9 a.m., you'll want to pick up, a folder with materials, because you will deliver a folder with the VCDL's analysis of any bills related to firearms. And that's one of the materials that will be in the folder. You'll have a business card that has Philip Van Cleve's contact information in case they have questions. And we may have some other flyers and things for you as well. that are in the folders. If you want stickers, you'll be able to pick up stickers. We will have radios for team leaders if you want to keep in touch with the other teams and with us back in the conference room. We have radios that could be issued. We also have body cams that are available for you to wear if you would like to record your experiences with our legislators. Some legislators may ask you not to record them. That we did have one request that last year. But those are some options for you in terms of some of the equipment and materials that you can pick up. Last year, we also had some leave behind cards. So anyone could pick up the card, fill it out, and could drop it with the administrative assistant or a legislative aide if their legislator wasn't available. And that was something that would help their legislator remember that their constituents have certain priorities and certain things that are important to them. And they would like their legislator to know where they stand. So you'll definitely want to do that between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. You want to pick up those materials from the conference room. And somewhere between 7 a.m. and 10:45 a.m. Now, most legislators won't want to schedule an appointment right at 7 a.m., but I have had a lot of luck with some legislators who are morning people who were free to meet with me at 7:30, 7:45, 8, 8:15. And that's because their meetings hadn't started yet. The legislators will have committee meetings and sessions and things throughout the day, so they may not be at their office all the time. And the more flexibility we can give them with respect to appointment times, the more likely we are to get to meet directly with the legislators. And then again, you'll want to finish up. So if we have 20 team lead volunteers, that means each team lead would be assigned to 7 legislators. And if you schedule 7 appointments that are about 15 minutes each, that's a little less than 2 hours. And you're going to want to be at the rally at the bell tower. We definitely want you to be able to go there. So we definitely want you to start those appointments probably no later than 9. And now some folks may also try to see their legislator after the rally as well. I know some people have told me that they want to go back in the afternoon and see their legislator. That's fine, but at some point we will need to pick up the equipment. And I'm gonna double check with Bruce, who's on the meeting here. Bruce, I'm gonna say a 1 p.m. return time for the equipment. Does that work for you?
You're muted, Bruce.
And you just missed the solution to Life Universe and everything. Yeah, no problem. I mean, we have a meeting afterwards, so I'll be there a little later. So 1 o'clock's fine, or even probably a little after.
Okay. Definitely wanted to check with Bruce on that one. And then notice the next day by midnight, another thing that a team leader will be asked to do is take some notes on who you met with. Make a note of who was on your team, and that helps us get a little bit of a sense of how many people visited legislators that day. And I'll ask you to send me your notes. Now, there's a lot of ways to take notes and send notes. You can write notes as you go and just drop them off when you return your equipment. You can type them into your phone and email them to me later. You might record. Some people use the record button on their phone and record their meetings and take down their notes later. Lots of different ways to do that if you want to take notes. Also, sometimes legislators or their aides will ask questions. We might not know the answer to the question on the spot that day. So you either may want to radio back, or you may want to ask somebody at VCDL to follow up with them with an answer to their question. And that is another reason why you might want to send me notes, questions, issues, anything like that. So what all does a team leader do? So first you'll be assigned hopefully 7 legislators, hopefully not more than that. If we have more than 20 volunteers, we could reduce the workload and give everybody a little bit more flexibility throughout the day. But what you'll do when you receive your legislator assignments is you'll try to call their office and you'll try to schedule appointments. The appointment should be about 15 minutes or less, and they probably won't have enough time to give you more than that. You'll inform other VCDL members you can do it through the Facebook page. You can do it on the online VCDL forums that we log into off the VCDL webpage. And you could do it on the Reddit page. You could do it. You could even, I don't know if we'd have enough time for each of the team leads to do that in the meetings, but if you attend the in-person member meetings, you can also let other members know which legislators you've been assigned to and ask them to join your team. A lot of people will join the team of one of the people visiting either their delegate or their senator. And that also means that they might peel off now and then if somebody else is meeting with their other one. You'll have either a list of delegates or a list of senators. And, so a couple of your team members might say, okay, we're going to join your team, but, at this time we're going to go because somebody else is meeting with our senator and and we're going to be with you the rest of the day. So that happens. It's okay. But once you have a team, you're going to want to let them know where they should meet you and at what time on the day of the 16th. And make sure you know the names of your team members. And you'll want to do that day because some people will arrange that with you ahead of time. Some people will join up. They'll show up on the day of and say, hey, I'm going to join your team. And that's fantastic as well. And then we also ask team leaders to take notes on any questions or issues that come up. If there's opportunities, sometimes legislators that are not friendly to our cause have aides who are friendly to our cause or who are asking lots of really good questions, and their aides may be able to influence them if we can help educate their aides. So that's always encouraging when that happens. So that's something you might want to write down. You might want to take some notes. One of the things you can do as a team leader is you can reach back to me if you have questions about your legislators. I do have notes from last year's team leaders on their experiences with various legislators. So we can, if there were notes on your legislator, I can let you know that. Some of the tips I have for you from being a team leader, when making your appointments, they may ask you if you are a constituent. And what you'll need to do is explain to them that you're going to be having a group of people with you. Constituents of the legislator will be asked to speak with the legislator first. And after that, if there's time, then others would like to speak with the legislator as well. But they'll meet with their own constituents. And there are some folks that will demand that their constituent call them to make the appointment. And that's where letting other members know who your assigned legislators are. And, because they may be able to help you out by calling and making the appointment. I know I've done that for folks with my legislator who is certainly not friendly to our cause. But I had to be the one to call her office and make that appointment. So I know I've done that for other team leaders before. There have been issues with the phone system in the Capitol on the first few days of session and the week before the session. Some years, last year was one of those years. And I think the year before that as well. So if you find that you're having trouble reaching them at the phone number listed for their Capitol office, call their district office phone number as well. And all of that information is available on virginiageneralassembly.gov. And that's spelled out, virginiageneralassembly.gov. You can get a lot of information about your legislators there. And when I make the assignments, I also give you their office number their district office phone number, their capital office phone number, and a little bit of other information. I think I usually give you the party that they're in, and I think that's about it. That's what I give you. So you can always go on to the virginiageneralassembly.gov website and find out a little bit more about your legislators. A few offices might move or change, and it's not that they're going to really move or change, but the people are going to move or change. So there's going to be a runoff election for Jen Kiggins' seat, so there's going to be a new person there. And so if you're assigned to that person, their staff may not be ready to schedule appointments yet, so you might just have to stop by on lobby day and see if they can meet with you. I will try to keep you posted on changes as we get more information. The good news is that we didn't have a General Assembly election this year, so the offices won't change very much, which means I can make the assignments as early as next week. So you have plenty of time to work and make appointments and form your teams in advance. And be aware, there are lots of meetings and events throughout the day, and your legislators will be they'll be asked by lots of other groups to meet with them, to come to events. So the earlier we can start making appointments, the better. However, early notice for some people who are not friendly to our cause will help them to find ways to not be in their office when we come by. I know mine is an expert at that. I've had to catch mine by waiting a little bit till after the rally starts and then going to her office because magically she's there during the rally. So I catch mine by going to her office when she thinks we're not there. It's a good idea if you have time to do a little bit of research on the legislators assigned to you. We have their voting record and their grade from their survey responses on the VCDL website. You can check that out. They might on their either their Virginia General Assembly page, or maybe they have a separate page, or maybe the page is still up from their campaign from last year. They may have a list of priorities or the platform that they promised their constituents. You can ask them, how will redistricting affect them? Some of them are going to be very affected. I think Emmett Hanger is one of them in the Senate. He doesn't always vote the way he tells us he should. And so he's one that we'll need to really lean on this year, because there's a lot of changes to his district. There are some senators who could be some swing votes for us, whose districts are changing, mine in particular. And then we were actually advised by some of our more friendly legislators last year that there's a few others we might be able to lean on. And so if I have those tips, I'll send those to you when I make the assignments, when I assign legislators to team leaders. You can ask about notes from previous team leaders. You can also ask on our VCDL social media pages, ask their constituents, what are your experiences? What do you know about your legislator? How can we reach them? How can we persuade them? And then you can also check on virginiageneralassembly.gov. You can also check which committees your legislators are on. There are some key committees that will hear most of the gun bills. I think there's 2 or 3 in the House. There's 1 in the Senate that will hear most of the gun-related bills. And those are the ones that you may really want to focus on and prioritize as far as budgeting your time on lobby day, but also preparing you and your team for those particular legislators. And again, I've been talking about virginiageneralassembly.gov. It's got a lot of information, and it's a pretty friendly website. You can even download CSV spreadsheet lists of committees, and the whole list of members of the Senate and the whole list of members of the House of Delegates. And if you have time, you might want to prepare to address some of the common objections that we already know some of our legislators talk about politically. Keep in mind that in Virginia, it's not just the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, it's Article 1, Section 13 of the Virginia Constitution, which is more detailed, I think, than the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So I've got it quoted right here for you. I've got a couple of articles and papers and websites that are places that are kind of quick reads. They're shorter resources. In the middle of the page here, the Buckeye Firearms, their list of gun quotations from the Founding Fathers. I read that list of quotations the day before my first time being a team leader, and it was extremely helpful. It addressed some of the common myths that I hear about the Second Amendment and the intention of our Founding Fathers and what they did and didn't know when they made the Second Amendment. And those quotations just blow those arguments out of the water. So it made me gave me a lot of confidence, being reminded of what our Founding Fathers did, what they said, what they knew, the debates that they had before ratifying the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights in the first Congress. And so those are helpful. I point you to crimeresearch.org. The Crime Prevention Research Center has done a lot of research. John Lott, you may have heard of him. He's written several books. He found out that the more guns you have, the less crime you have. And he's done a lot of research on how concealed carry permit applications have gone up year over year in the United States, despite constitutional carry being passed. He also has found that more women and more people of color are getting permits to carry. And then you have gunfacts.info. It's another good site where they've done a lot of data analytics, and they address a variety of very common myths that we hear. And then if you really want to read, you really have a lot of time over the holidays, and you want to pick up some slightly longer works, there's 3 of the Federalist Papers, and Federalist Papers are in the public domain. You can find them, you can read them, but numbers 28, 29, and 46 in particular. And the Anti-Federalist Papers, there's one in particular by Federal Farmer, and it's number 18 from Federal Farmer. They address a lot of the issues around the right to keep and bear arms. And they talk about the militia, but they also distinguish between the individual and the militia. So even though the Federalists and Anti-Federalists disagreed on a lot of things, especially whether or not we should have a strong federal government or strong states' rights, they all agreed that the right to keep and bear arms was an individual right. And then anything by Stephen Halbrook, he is a well-known expert on the law when it comes to the Second Amendment. His works have even been cited by the Supreme Court in their opinions. So I list his website, which lists a lot of his books and articles. And like I said, some of those are just articles. You don't have to commit to a whole book if you don't want to. But also following the work of John Lott, Gary Kleck, Eric Pratt, and the SCOTUS blog in general, which has a variety of contributors. Those have all been helpful to me at learning about the legal history of the right to keep and bear arms. And they've all helped me to address common misconceptions, myths, and just outright lies about firearms. And I'm sure all of you could probably list a few more really good resources as well. If you're interested and you haven't already, send me an email and include your name, your email address, and tell me which House and Senate district numbers you are. You will want to be aware of your new House and Senate district because that could change who your legislators are going to be moving forward. And I know a lot of people haven't checked this out yet because a friend of mine who was a poll watcher in at least in my area said a lot of people went to the wrong polling place to vote in this past election. They were confused. They didn't realize that their polling place had changed because they were in an area that was redistricted. And so that's going to be an important thing to know going into this session. We may be able to influence some legislators who are going to be on shakier ground, given the number of votes they're expecting to get in the 2023 elections because of redistricting. So it's a really good thing to know for yourself. It's also a good thing to ask your legislators, hey, how is redistricting going to affect you and your district? And that is all I have formally written down. Those are all the notes that I have for you. What else can I tell you or share with you? Or do any of our previous team leaders have anything they would like to share with folks who might be interested in being a team leader, or folks who have questions about, what's Lobby Day all about? What do we do?
Couple of ththings I'd like to mention. There is a website up, vcdl.org/lobbyday2023 And Christy, if you email me that PowerPoint that you put up, I'll put a lot of that information on that page so that people can find it easily. There were some comments about street parking. You don't have to feed the meters on Monday because it is a holiday. Let's see. We did get a question. Other than ending state and local restrictions on carrying firearms, what are some of BCDL's legislative priorities for 2023? Philip, do you want to give a brief rundown on that without going into too much detail?
Yeah. Okay. So before I do that, if you're going to be studying up on some of this, one of the main things to look at is Bruin decision, and the bottom line on that is the only control that would be acceptable as constitutional would be something in the text of the Constitution. Good with that, there isn't gun control in there, or in the traditional history, as it was in 1791. So there was very, very, very little gun control back then. And that's going to knock down just a load of stuff. That's going to be the key. It was very clear on it. So as we challenge gun control, we're going to point out, there was no historical analog. There was nothing to point back. All right, on to this question. Some of the items that we're going to be working on. One of the lower hanging fruit is on the item of switchblades. We're make it so you can keep them in your pocket. They're now legal, but there's no way to keep them concealed. So we want to fix that. Hopefully that won't be too hard to do. We'll see. You never know. We are looking at fixing at least preemption to cover like what we're currently winning and a couple items that we're working on with Winchester, city of Winchester. Want to basically codify that for the state, as there are items right now that are basically they stay because they're constitutional. We don't want Virginia sharing your concealed handgun permit information with any state that doesn't honor the permit. So if you go to Maryland and they don't honor your permit, then we shouldn't be telling you a permit because they don't consider it to be anything consequence anyhow. That kind of information has been used to harass gun owners. So we need to, that's on the list. Let's see here. So one deals with people from out of state. I'll skip that. Hit some of the highlights here. Second. We don't the federal government or anybody to be able to get hold of the concealed handgun permit holder database as a whole. If the police, including federal government, has a legitimate reason to be, for example, doing a criminal investigation, and yes, on that person they're investigating, they can be told information about them from that database. But for the FBI to come up and say we want your entire database because we want to whatever, no, that we don't want. So we're going to be working that. We want to define what exactly the gun ban is for daycare or preschool, because those can be in part of a church, part of a business for employees. You need to know exactly where that one is drawn. The current law gives no hint it can get you a felony because you think it doesn't cover an area and a prosecutor thinks it does. So we want a clarification on that. Otherwise, it's sort of unconstitutionally vague. We want to get rid of the church ban, even though an attorney general said good and sufficient is a valid reason for that is self-defense. We just want to get rid of that. Let's see here. Want to repeal that 18 to 20-year-olds buying a handgun must go through a universal background check. That's unconstitutional. VCDL had to stay on that in Virginia because it's unconstitutional. It would deny 18 to 20-year-olds absolutely ability to have a handgun, which is legal for them to have and for them to carry openly. We want to clarify that in-person training is only needed on brand new concealed permit holders, not if you've already gone through and have been carrying the last 5 years. You don't need to prove that you had an in-person training when you got your permit years ago. We want to repeal the one handgun law. We want to remove the ban on carry stops. There's no way they can argue that that's a sensitive area. So that would go. Remove the ban on carry in the General Assembly and the Capitol building. These are all things we're lining up. I mean, we've been very busy. We wanted to remove the authority for school board property to have a ban on it. Not talking about schools, but the building where the school board eats and stuff like that, where just offices with adults in it. They should be allowed to. They should not be allowed to ban guns there. Get rid of the code section that says you can't have loaded firearm that has more than 20 round magazine in certain localities, or a threaded barrel for that matter is a real pain. In certain localities, I want to repeal that again. Nothing in the Constitution would back that. Let me check here. We want to make it so that private property, yes, they can tell you can't bring a gun in their building or walk around their property with a gun on private property, but they can't tell you can't leave a gun locked up car. So your car is like your castle in that case, and you can leave your gun in the car, yet you park on property. Other than that, wouldn't allow guns anywhere else. And one more thing, I want to get rid of the antiquated requirement that if you're new in Virginia and you get your first driver's license, that you have to wait 30 days before you can buy a gun. That goes back a long time ago, a problem that long since solved. So that gives you a pretty good idea. And there's a few more things I didn't list, but that gives you a pretty idea. It's a very, very active, and a lot of the things on this list I think are very doable. We'll see.
So we do have a question from William Pearson, where the conference room is located. And the conference room is on 9th Street, just north of Main Street. And there will be a sign outside or banner for VCDL, and you go down a little flight of steps, and you can enter the conference room. And this is where the team leads will pick up their packets. So team leads can designate where they want to meet their team members. It can be at 9th and Main. It can be up by the bell tower. Anywhere along 9th Street right there is fine. And then go right around the corner and get in line to enter the building. So We're hoping to have an excellent turnout. It's vitally important to have a good turnout because that's what helps us get our legislative agenda passed.
And again, just to be clear, this is technically on the same block as where the General Assembly meets. So if you were basically looking at the building main doors that you into the General Assembly, and on the same block, you walk all the way left, the end of the block, and then turn right. That meeting room will be on your right, on the narrower part of that block, about in the middle, and that's where the meeting room is, on that same block.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we have one comment here. Advice from a previous team leader: be polite but persistent with calls and emails until your assigned legislators schedule a meeting with you. When meeting with legislators or aides, pick a few key bills to focus on, since you won't have time to cover every firearm bill. Always let constituents of the legislator speak first and supplement with your own wrap up afterwards. Look for common ground with unfriendly legislators. Chanting about the Second Amendment isn't persuasive to anti gun folks, but perhaps they will share VCDL's concerns about the impact of anti gun legislation on minority groups or women. That common ground thing is vitally important. Whenever you can find some sort of a common interest or concern with a person, they tend to look at you more as a person than as a gun owner or a demographic that they label you under. So when you make things personal, it carries more weight.
Yeah, for example, the ban, getting rid of the ban on carrying in a rest area. Again, that's anyone to say, well, you ever concerned at night if you were to have to pull over on 95 and use a rest stop at 2 in the morning, especially if you're a woman. And we've denied you the ability to carry a building where there's rarely an employee there, and it's not really like an office building or anything else. It's just where a convenient place for people to use restrooms and get a snack or something. That strikes some common ground.
Yep, and people often ask about how to dress. You want to dress business casual or better. People take you more seriously when you dress appropriately for the occasion.
Absolutely, yeah, business casual would be good, because it makes appear more serious, more business on this issue, and take it seriously as opposed to somebody that whatever. So yeah, dress appropriately would be great if you can do that.
One comment on the dress. It definitely, like they said, business casual. The reason I say that is one of our people. When you have that many people at a lobby day, you have ears and eyes every place. And there was one year where we had, I think, maybe half a dozen people in jeans, 2 people in camo, and everybody else was in business casual or suits. And one of the folks down there said, we must be discussing gun laws today. Half the cast of Deliverance is in town. And so you can't give in to their stereotypes of gun owners.
I mean, when you go for a job interview, you dress to get the job. You dress appropriately for the position. If you're going for an interview for a position in an office, you dress in a suit. If you're going for a position that's maybe house painting or something like that, you dress appropriately for that. So make your attire fit the occasion. You're going to offices and you're meeting with people that are working in offices, so dress appropriately.
I would look at it this way. I mean, I wear a suit because I'm representing all of you. Well, if you're there, you're representing only yourself, but you're representing everybody else as well. And so therefore you want to do it appropriately. You want to get the best shot to represent everybody in a professional.
Right. We're all ambassadors for the shooting sports world. All right, Christy, do you have anything else to add, or Philip or Bruce?
No, I think covered it. Like I say, I think the Bruin decision is going to help us. So if you have any questions on the Bruin decision, if you're not really quite sure about something, send me an email, president@vcdl.org, and I'll be glad to answer questions for you. So that when you go into these offices, you're comfortable in pointing out this major change in favor of our
All right, so Christy, you have put up your email, and I will put it on the Lobby Day 2023 info website. So that's vcdl.org/Lobby Day 2023 info. And people can contact you to become a team leader. And then once you have the team leader, well, back up a sec. What is the deadline for signing up to be a team leader, and how many team leaders do you need?
I would need at least 20. I'd like to have at least 20 so that nobody has so many meetings to schedule. And if we have more than that, fantastic. That means the load gets a little lighter for everyone. The deadline, I'm going to say, is going to be December 15th.
Okay, so that is about 3 weeks-ish, a little over 3 weeks. And the email that they can contact you at one time, because I see Gary Cassius just said he wants to be a team lead.
Yes, and he has reached out. I do have him on my list.
Okay. And so once you have your team leads, will it be posted who to contact if you want to be on a team?
The team
or how
leads,
to contact them?
Yes. Yes. So the team leads will need to reach out to members, and they have the Facebook page, they have the Reddit group, they have we've got several forums. You can log in on the VCDL webpage to the VCDL forums. You can post there and speak with other members there. That's the thing, is like each team leader will need to let folks know, hey, I'm going to be visiting these legislators. Would you like to join my team?
And what time to meet them?
And yes, and you'll need to let them know where and what time to meet you on January 16th.
Okay, so Husky Mom is asking, since we are going to be in an area with a permanent event we can't carry. It's not so much the permanent event as guns are banned in all state buildings and on Capitol grounds. So sadly, we cannot carry at Lobby Day this year. We are working on getting that law repealed. And you guys showing up at Lobby Day is going to be instrumental in getting that law repealed.
Yeah, we're at that point. See, ideally, they wanted to shut down completely. They were hoping that by taking away our ability to carry, they wouldn't show up to these. We would lose interest, and since we couldn't carry, we wouldn't participate. We cannot let them win that battle. We have to win this war. Sometimes things can get uncomfortable, but win this position because people did vote right, and they will paying for the consequences of an election. We're able to fix it next year if everybody gets out and votes. If all gun owners get out and vote, we can fix this. Until then, we're stuck with the current law. And so, no, we can't carry. But if we let that deter us from showing up in numbers, it's much, much, much harder to get this agenda done. We need to show them what wall you put in front of us, we're going to climb over it and get the job done. We're not going to let you come up with some excuse to keep us from showing up. We're going to play that game to you. You're going to lose.
Yeah. Keep in mind, they passed this law to discourage us from showing up at Lobby Day.
VCD was aimed at us.
Mm-hmm. This law was directly to keep us from showing up and making our voices heard, and we cannot let them stop us.
They
They
will
didn't
not.
want us to have another 2020 lobby day.
Yeah.
They
It
passed
would
this
be.
thing right after that.
Yep. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so we're gonna call it a night here, and thank you all for stopping in and participating. And please share this video with other people that may want to become a team leader or join a team.
Yes,
Have a good night, y'all.
Yeah, working on you guys. Thank you.